It's fucking Christmas. There's finally content. That means I get to finally start showing you what I've been talking about, instead of just yapping over random dungeon voiceovers. Now's when we actually get to finally get to work. Healing is constant decision making. Every action we make will either have rewards or consequences. Obviously, we're here for rewards. The goal today is I want you to be able to walk into content and be super confident that no matter what happens, you'll know exactly how you're going to respond. Up until now, we've been focused on how to see what's happening. We've been talking about things like your UI, your frames, your awareness, unit frames, boss mods, all that stuff. Now we're going to talk about what to do with that information. A big part of decision making is just experience. Learning things like damage ranges, what difficulty certain abilities start to become lethal. There is no formula for this, it's just going to come with practice and time. I want to use an example to kind of drive this idea home. So we have two players. Player A is at 40%, player B is at 60%. Now, reactionary, you'd probably want to heal the person at 40% first. But let's say the person who's at 60% has a really nasty overlap. They have a debuff, they're getting targeted by the boss mechanic, maybe they're getting hit by pot shots by ads at the same time. So this is why you have to recognize who is actually being threatened, not just who has less health. And then you have to think to yourself, what cooldowns am I committing, and what and when am I committing it? You need to have a plan. Reactionary healing is way less effective than planned healing. And to actually make those decisions, you need to understand what's happening. We need to know if this is a tank buster pack. Is this a rot damage pack? Are there multiple dispels in this pack? We need to know if there's going to be sustained damage events, large upfront chunk damage. Is this damage avoidable or unavoidable? Knowing what's happening lets you evaluate what tools you have and what you choose to use. Another big part of decision making is sometimes deciding who lives and who dies. People are going to die. Sometimes this is your fault, sometimes it's not. But if someone chooses to ignore all the avoidable damage and you have to commit time and resources into keeping them alive, there's a possibility that somebody in your group who is doing what they're supposed to be doing might die because you're committing to the wrong person. Sometimes letting people die is the right call. A really good example of this is the Derelict duo in Windrunner Spire. Latch uses a tank buster called Bone Hack. Let's say that you have to use Ironbark or your last pain suppression or something on somebody who's standing on shit in the ground. And now your tank dies because you didn't have an external forum for Bone Hack. This causes a wipe because we overcommitted a resource to somebody we should have just let die. If I have to overcommit to someone, and this pulls your focus from the rest of the group, and you can't reasonably and safely save them, let them die. Not all deaths are your fault, and you will be in constant blame and shame. This is part of the role. We accept it. We ignore the feedback if someone is obviously wrong, and we just keep going. It's okay to acknowledge that you were wrong and not get defensive about it. This is where we learn, and this is where we're going to improve ourselves. Be willing to accept feedback and take the context out of the blame game and realize maybe you could have done something different. Recognize it, accept it, move on. Don't dwell on it. Now I want to switch to healing priority. And this is where things kind of start to get a little tricky. The reality is, not everybody needs the same level of attention. And this is where a lot of new healers can get stuck. It's not that they can't heal, it's that they don't actually know who needs attention right now. They're not sure how to decide or how to prioritize when multiple things are all happening at once. So instead of panicking, I like to follow a priority system. Yourself is number one. If you die, everyone dies. And the next is the tank. Usually tanks have really low priority. They have lots of tools that they can just use for themselves. The only time that they become top priority are when there are tank busters or if they're running out of cooldowns. And then I check for dispels. You can only dispel one person at a time. Can't cover everybody. So you dispel one, maybe throw an external on another. Pay attention to your party frames. See if anybody's using a defensive. If they are using a defensive, they drop down in priority. So instead of just reacting randomly, I came up with a flowchart that I like to follow. It's not something you have to memorize. It's just what naturally starts happening when you start understand healing. And it looks like this: prevent, anticipate, triage, stabilize, and recover. And this is a constant loop. And you're always moving between these during encounters. You're always at one stage or another. We're going to go through each one of these and talk about the things you can do or the decisions you'll make during each of these phases. And the first one is prevent. Prevent is knowing what's going to happen before it does. Obviously. Can I prevent this damage before it even happens? Those could be things like using CC, stops on a pack, using externals to maybe smooth out damage. Maybe you can use utility, freedom, rescue, transcendence. I always like to think of my Sara when somebody's being sacrificed on the altar. You can use utility like Tiger's Lust or freedom or rescue to save this person. Positioning. If you avoid a mechanic, then you never have to heal it. Maybe you have tools that you can use to try to reposition other people. Rescue, priest life grip, stuff like that. Always look for opportunities to get the most value out of your utility. And next is anticipate. This is happening, but how can I prepare for it? So you could start planning your cooldowns and then recognize what tools do I have, which tool is the right tool, and you need to avoid overvaluing a cooldown or undervaluing one. Maybe one cooldown is overkill, maybe the other one is not enough. Maybe I can use an external to mitigate or lessen the damage. This could be things like pain suppression, time dilation, iron bark on tanks maybe, priest barrier. It's all about just trying to decide what is the right tool for what's happening. After we decide what tool we're going to commit, now we need to start thinking about our positioning. I need to help myself by making sure that I'm not ranging anybody or nobody's ranging me. If you're a ramp class, like Disc Priest, Resto Druid, Prez Evoker, maybe now is the time to start getting your pre-ramp out so you're ready for what's coming. This is where I do all of my setup and preparation. I'm not trying to stop it anymore. Now I'm preparing for it. Prevent is stopping the damage from happening at all. Anticipate is accepting that this is happening, and we're gonna be prepared. Triage. The damage has happened or is happening. Now we need to decide who gets healing first. Triaging is deciding who needs my attention right now. Who is in immediate danger? How do I stabilize them and the group? The goal of triage isn't to keep everybody at 100%. The goal is to survive. We need to survive the next 5 to 10 seconds of whatever's happening. Example, I see 2 debuffs out on people, I can only dispel 1. So I need to be aware, via my party frames, did one of them use a defensive? If so, they're dropping in priority. This is where I can use something like pain suppression, time dilation, iron bark, and focus on healing this target while I dispel the others. Tank busters. Unless the tank has something that will immediately put him in critical danger, tanks are usually very low on priority. Like we discussed earlier, they have lots of tools at their own disposal. They're normally okay, but they might call for an external sometimes if they have nothing. And remember, always, 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 you are number one. You are the absolute top priority. If you die, everyone dies. Triage is when we're executing our plan CD and deciding who gets our immediate attention first. Next is stabilize. The massive damage is done. Now we're just cleaning up the mess. Who still needs dispels? We're topping everyone off. We're making sure no one's about to die anymore. We're cleaning up debuffs. Get everybody to a safe spot. We're fixing our positioning. We're bringing things back under control. We're safe, but we're not comfortable yet. We start doing evaluations and damage control. We're checking our mana. Do we need to drink before the next pull? Do we need to use a mana pot during a boss fight? And then we're trying to take mental notes if people use personal defensives. We want to be aware so we know who's going to need extra attention on the next one. Recover is the last step. Cover is where I like to start thinking about what is coming up next. What cooldowns do I still have? What cooldowns do I plan on using on this next pack? Is there a certain way that I need to position? I'm looking 20, 25 seconds into the future, and I'm evaluating what is coming. And then the cycle repeats itself. I go back into prevent. Can I stop the damage from happening at all? And I anticipate. I can't stop it, so I need to prepare for it. Then triage. This is happening. Who needs my attention right now? Stabilize. No one's about to die. Time to clean things up. Then recover. Everything's under control. What's next? At the end of the day, healing is just decision making. It's not just reacting. It's not just pressing buttons. It's constantly figuring out what's happening and how I'm going to solve it. And instead of panicking, you need to have a plan about how you're going to work through it. The more you play, the more natural this process becomes. You stop thinking about it and you just start doing it. If I missed anything, or if you have any questions, drop a comment down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.